Hi, good afternoon, beautiful wild woman. My name is Marla, and I am the founder and creator of Indigo, Wild Woman Coaching for men and women who seek a physical and spiritual healing in midlife. I've published a book, A Space Between Holistic Well-Being for Menopause and Beyond. And what we are here to talk about this afternoon is my new online course entitled, Can I Still Eat the Bread? When I came up with that title, I didn't necessarily mean for it to be funny, but the reaction that I've received from different audiences indicates that it is. And and of course, it's making me laugh now talking about it. I'm happy that it's funny or humorous because I think if we can approach this time in our lives, this time in a woman's life, and in a man's life, but we're talking more specifically today about the female experience, that I believe greater healing is possible if we're not so serious about it. Of course, there's really probably nothing more serious than the state of our health, than our well-being, but maintaining some joy and levity and ability to laugh at ourselves along the way, I think will take us much further. So, what you can expect from my online course, I just have a very short presentation that I want to share with you and let you know what's possible. So, can I still eat the bread? It is a simple 5 steps with an introductory. It's an article that I had published, of course, called "Can I Still Eat the Bread?" And it helps women. It helps people to consider first before diving into the science, uh, um, at a more from a more spiritual perspective, maybe a philosophical one, if spiritual doesn't resonate with you, but an opportunity to consider the role the bread plays in your life. Literally, is it filling some hole? Is it filling a need that otherwise is not being met or ignored, and over time, right, has begun to be met through bread. And of course, I love bread, and I believe that bread, and I eat bread every day. Spoiler. um, Bread has a very cultural and spiritual place in our lives. It brings people together. It's an art form. At times, depending on the recipe, one it is highly revered and maybe kept secret and passed down from generation to generation. So I believe it does have a much more meaningful significance in our lives than other foods. All right, so I chose bread to focus on specifically. Of course, maybe for you, it works better if you focus on a different food, but both biologically speaking, what happens to our bodies when we eat bread, I get into that, and of course, that can be applied to any other processed carb. But philosophically and spiritually speaking, I think it's important to consider the role that food plays in your life. So when you're reading this article, again, if you don't have a particular obsession with bread, stay open to considering those things that you are obsessed about, and what role have you allowed those things, those food items, to play in your life. Then we get into the 5 steps, and much of this is scientific. It's evidence-based research. It'll allow you to understand what's happening to your body physically at this time in your life. The first step, why do we suddenly gain weight? my path started about 15 years ago, when I woke up one day and realized that I had put on 20 pounds and was really living someone else's life. The 20 pounds were just the physical outward manifestation of what was happening for me internally. But it woke me up, and it's what I needed at that time to set me on a different path. So why do we suddenly gain weight? This first step will open your eyes perhaps to what's happening physically, what's happening to your hormones, why the body doesn't metabolize foods like it used to, and of course, what to do about it. So step two, what should I eat now? This is a great intro into what I call the menopause diet. It will outline those foods that are helpful, why they're necessary, what to avoid, and it will challenge you with taking on a 30-day detox from sugar, grains, processed carbs, and dairy. And I won't get into why right here, but to let you know that that's coming. I hope along the way with Can I Still Eat the Bread, you feel challenged the whole way. You feel challenged to step outside of your comfort zone and to start doing things differently that ultimately lead to an embodied healing, to new practices, to new habits for health. How to exercise during menopause. Much of this work is about not just the what, but the when, right? When, not just what am I eating, but when am I eating it? Not just how am I exercising, but when am I exercising? Science shows that women stand to gain much greater reward from exercising in the morning versus later in the day. So it's something to consider. The impact, step four, maybe my favorite, the impacts of yoga and meditation on menopause. I have a daily, regular, embodied, habituated practice of both of yoga and meditation. They've been yoga was my first love. It's been with me for nearly 20 years now. I'm newer to meditation. I've dipped in and out of it over the course of those 20 years, but a couple of regular years now of daily practice, and I explore why in step four, as well as offer uh, a short guided yoga practice via video for you. I can't I can't profess more loudly the benefits of both and how they have both significantly helped me to improve my well-being and why they're important, and my hope that if these are new to you, that you will consider seriously incorporating them into your path forward, into your cultivation of your best life going forward. Step five, lastly, sleep. I discuss with you what are your sleep habits? What does your sleep hygiene look like? Challenge you to consider doing something differently. And of course, with all of the other steps, offer tips and recommendations for how to change and make that into a better practice for yourself. We all know if we're not sleeping, nothing much is going on in life, right? It seems to have a very negative impact on everything else that we do. I want to talk just very briefly before I wrap it up today about blood sugar and why is everybody talking about glucose, right? Why is everybody talking about blood sugar in the body? Maybe it's just me and the circles that I run in, but it is definitely hot right now. Whenever we eat, our blood sugar goes up. That's unavoidable. But Yeah, and I should say, whenever our blood sugar goes up, it taxes the body and it ages us. So we want to do what we can to minimize both the sugar in the blood, the glucose in the blood by what we eat, and minimize the spike in eating. If you choose to work with me later on, I'm a disciple of intermittent fasting, and that is because it, in my opinion, is the quickest way we have to regulate our blood sugar and create metabolic health, which is the body's tapping into the body's natural ability to burn fat. We have two we have two energy sources in the body. Our modern lifestyle has led to only using sugar for energy because we're always eating, and has subsequently turned off the body's ability to burn fat. So if you're somebody that feels hangry or gets a very maybe even you feel a nervous energy or I've had clients describe it to me in the past as a scary hunger, that's because you have turned off your body's ability to burn fat. So we need to get that back. And that starts by regulating blood sugar. So tips for doing so are things like when you do eat, start with the vegetables. The vegetables have this natural, innate chemical that lines the intestines, literally protecting the intestine from the oncoming onslaught of having to break down sugar in the body from the foods that we're eating. And I'm not talking about just like added sugar to foods. When you look at the label and it says how many added sugars, I'm talking about the naturally occurring sugars in food, which is why we want to also minimize those processed carbs. And if you take me up on it, even avoiding fruits for 30 days, literally dropping your sugar intake to less than 20 grams of all sugar for the course of the throughout the course of the day. Like most people don't know how much naturally occurring sugar there is in cow milk, which is lactose. That is the sugar in milk and dairy products. So eating the vegetables first, dressing your carbs with when you do eat the carb, it should be the last in the meal. We're focusing on protein, fat, and fiber first, always. Protein, fat, and fiber, especially for breakfast. If we spike our blood sugar high in the morning with a bagel and orange juice, or even a big bowl of oatmeal with a banana, right? We've been so enculturated to believe that a bowl of oatmeal with a banana or even blueberries is actually a good breakfast. It's loaded with sugar and that spikes your blood sugar and keeps you in that state for the rest of the day, craving more. The more sugar we have, the more sugar we eat, the more we want. So focusing on the protein, fat, and fiber first. If there's a carb on your plate, I already admitted to the fact that I do eat bread every day. It's typically a slice of something good sprouted in the morning with breakfast. That comes at the end of my meal, or definitely after I've had a veggies, um, like a few sticks of celery, uh, raw pickle, microgreens, anything, any vegetable counts. Um, then the protein, fat, and fiber, a couple of eggs, maybe some tofu. If I'm eating avocado, if I'm not battling eczema, that's a whole nother story. The avocado first, or a hummus for some good fat and fiber, and then toast. Okay. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, but I've prepped my body to manage the carb load of having a piece of toast. Now, granted, that's not a big carb load, but you get the idea that the food order matters. Dress your carb with a fat. So for me, it's hummus, avocado, or butter. Um, if you're somebody that can manage apple cider vinegar, that goes a long way to minimizing that blood sugar impact. Have just a tablespoon of that ACV with a glass of water, room temperature water before your meal. So those are just some quick tips for how do you manage yours, but why it's important. It goes a long way towards creating metabolic health, and everything starts and ends in the gut, in your body's ability to digest, rest and digest, absorb those nutrients, right? We're not so much what we eat, but what we can absorb. We definitely are what we eat, but maximizing your body's ability to absorb the nutrients that you are intaking. Uh, Sugar, just on its own, right, is a major contributor to cognitive decline. And I know I don't need to talk to you about the skyrocketing numbers of individuals in our society that are dealing not only with poor metabolic health, diabetes, but cognitive decline, right? The more sugar you dump into your bloodstream, um, the more we become insulin resistant, right? So the more sugar, the more insulin, the more sugar, the more insulin. And hello, now we have diabetes, right? We need to manage our stress levels. The more cortisol produced, the more stress, the more glucose. Did you know the body dumps glucose into your bloodstream to manage the cortisol? Likewise, cholesterol. The more cortisol, the more cholesterol. So managing stress helps to reduce blood sugar, and I can do a whole nother series on cortisol. So I strayed a little bit off of the path there, but just wanted to share with you a little bit about what to expect from Can I Still Eat the Bread? And ultimately, what to expect if you decide that I'm your person and want to dive into a group coaching program for women, your body, your ally. I love working with male clients as well, one on one. But Can I Still Eat the Bread is your appetizer. I would love to see you there. I will stop my sharing. And thank you for tuning in. Please let me know how I can support you. If you have any questions, reach out.